There is one small window each year when what you stop chasing turns and starts moving toward you. If you were born under Scorpio, or you carry Scorpio like a secret engine inside you, this is that window. Some call it the Lion's Gate. I call it a test of precision, because this isn't about louder affirmations or prettier vision boards. It's about whether your energy is clean enough, specific enough, and disciplined enough to hold what you say you want when it arrives. Before we go an inch further, breathe with me. Not the pretty breath you show the world, your real breath. In through the nose, slow and deliberate. Hold. Out through the mouth a little longer than feels comfortable. Again. Good. Let the noise drop a few decibels. You don't need a stadium full of sound to change your life. You need the kind of silence Scorpios make when they choose. Welcome to the Path to Buddha Wisdom. I'm your longtime researcher and guide, and this is a deep, grounded session designed for the way a Scorpio actually works: intense attention, surgical honesty, private courage. If you're here, it's not random. Your timing is precise, even if the world around you pretends to be chaos. Stay with me to the end, because I'm going to hand you 3 things: a simple intention architecture that takes under 5 minutes a day, a 30-day slow merge plan for love that protects your boundaries while inviting real intimacy, and a 1-step money pivot you can launch this week without burning your life down. Everything you hear today is for reflection and entertainment, not therapy, legal, or financial advice, and yet if you use it with integrity, it will be practical enough to move the ground under your feet. Let's set the stage clearly. The Lion's Gate language is poetic. Yes, but the mechanism we care about is plain, heightened focus, heightened pattern recognition, heightened consequence. When you're Scorpio, you manifest differently from other signs. Not by throwing 100 wishes into the sky, but by subtraction. You cut what leaks, you seal what matters, and you concentrate power. That is your gift and your responsibility. The portal doesn't reward volume, it rewards accuracy. Maybe in the last year you did something quietly brave. You stopped texting first. You stepped out of a triangle. You told the truth about what you need in order to feel safe. You listened to your body when it went cold around a door that looked open. And maybe on a late night when the house hummed and the phone was dark, you wondered if choosing yourself meant you'd chosen to be alone. Hear me. Choosing yourself properly never isolates you, it calibrates your world. What leaves is noise, what remains is signal. And in this window, signal amplifies. Here is the question this week sets before you. Are you available for the exact thing you asked for, or only for the theater of wanting it? Say you want a steady love. Can you bear the slow, ordinary goodness of steady? Say you want a partner who tells the truth. Can you sit still when honesty stings because it ends fantasy? Say you want money you didn't have to chase. Can you hold the discipline that keeps it when it arrives? Scorpio power is not the lightning strike. It's the wire behind the wall that carries current day after day without overheating. You will hear plenty of voices telling you to release the past while sprinting back into it. That's not what we do here. We do precise work. We look at the pattern that keeps repeating in your love life, and we ask the right Scorpio question: what does this pattern give me that I pretend I do not want? Attention control. A familiar ache. I can predict if a door keeps opening, it's either meant for you or it's magnetized to your unhealed appetite. This week helps you tell the difference, and that difference is everything. I'm going to speak to 2 currents that are likely moving through your life. The first is relational, a bond that won't quite die, a heat that returns at inconvenient hours, a name your body recognizes before your mind finishes the thought. The second is material, a project offer or idea that keeps knocking, but requires a cleaner container, better boundaries, better systems, fewer leaks. In both cases, the invitation of this window is the same. Stop dramatizing what you want. Start making room for it. Before we go deeper, set a simple intention with me. Keep it plain and specific. Scorpio does not need ornate spells. Whisper it if you can. I release what dilutes me. I claim what matches me. I act in ways that prove both. Again, I release what dilutes me. I claim what matches me. I act in ways that prove both. If you do nothing else this week but measure your choices against that sentence, you will not waste this window. I also want to be clear about pace. If love returns, you don't have to slam the door or fling it wide. There is a third way most people never practice. You open it a hand's width and you let the room breathe. You observe. You ask clean questions. You move slowly enough to see if words and actions rhyme. Intensity is not intimacy. Scorpio knows that, but sometimes forgets because intensity feels like proof. In this session, I'll give you a 30-day cadence dates, conversations, check-ins, and green flags that keeps your dignity intact while giving something real a chance to grow. No ultimatums, no games, just adult clarity. And money, let's strip the mystique. You are not blocked. You are overcommitted to people, apps, habits, and micro yeses that siphon the same attention you say you want to invest. Your money pivot this week is not another hustle. It's a sealant. One leak closed, one offer clarified, one delivery system simplified. When Scorpios concentrate, cash stops evaporating. We'll get surgical about that too. Now, an agreement between us. I will not promise you fireworks for the sake of your dopamine. You don't need them. What you need is what your sign was born to do. Keep your word to yourself when no one is watching. If you can meet me there, this will be more than a pleasant listen. It will be a line in the sand. Engage with me as we go. Tell me in the comments the one habit you will retire for 7 days to prove you're serious. Name the boundary that must exist for love to be safe. Name the one place your money leaks. Speak it out loud. Scorpios transmute truth, not silence. By the end of this video, you will have a script you can actually use in your mouth, on your calendar, in your wallet. The portal language is romantic. The work is practical. And if you're still here, I already know which one you prefer. Let's begin. Part 1. The portal and Scorpio's mechanics of intention. You'll hear people romanticize this week as if a door in the sky swings open and everything you ever wanted pours through. That's not how a Scorpio should think about it. For you, the portal is not a cosmic vending machine. It's a magnifier. It takes whatever signal you are already broadcasting, your standards, your habits, your private vows, and turns the volume up. That's why you feel the edges of things more sharply right now, the almost relationship you kept on the hook, the project you promised to begin, the boundary you drew with a shaky hand. The magnifier doesn't make you someone else, it makes you unmistakably yourself. That's the opportunity and the risk. Scorpio intention isn't about wanting louder, it's about wanting narrower. The archer doesn't shoot 10 arrows and hope one lands. The archer times breath, wait stance, then releases once. You operate the same way. When you cut distractions, the thing you choose starts moving. When you keep all the doors half open, nothing does. Let me give you a picture. A woman wrote to me last year, Scorpio, Sun, Cancer, Moon, living in Austin, working hybrid tech, newly single. Every portal season, she'd write long lists, soulmate traits, dream income, new city, better friendships, a calmer nervous system. The lists were beautiful and nothing changed. This time, she tried subtraction. She stopped asking for a perfect partner and asked for one condition: emotional congruence, words and actions match consistently. Then she acted in ways that proved she meant it. She ended the late-night text pipeline with an ex who gave poetic apologies and casual follow-through. She told a new prospect gently and clearly, I move slowly and I check for rhyme. What you say, what you do. Within a month, she didn't have a fairy tale. She had a steady human being making small promises and keeping them. It wasn't cinematic. It was real. She didn't manifest a person. She manifested conditions where a person like that could connect to her. Or this, a Scorpio man in Philadelphia who kept saying he wanted money that stays. He didn't need another affirmation. He needed a sealant. He tracked 1 week of tiny leaks, the subscription he forgot to cancel, the freelance invoice he delayed sending, because he feared looking needy, the habit of over-delivering on low-paying projects while postponing the high-paying pitch that scared him. He closed 1 leak a day for 7 days. On day 8, nothing mystical occurred, only what always happens when Scorpios concentrate his attention returned to him, and with it, options. He sent the pitch priced firmly and the client said yes. He didn't summon cash out of the ether. He redirected what was already trying to reach him. So here is how we'll work this window, not with drama, but with architecture. You need something you can perform in 5 minutes a day because you are not building a mood, you're building a rhythm. Use the 3-beat frame we set in the opening cut, claim, prove, but give it a body. First beat, cut. This is 90 seconds of clean removal each morning. You don't negotiate with what dilutes you, you switch it off. Unfollow the account that spikes comparison and steals an hour. Archive the thread with the almost lover who keeps you on standby. Delete the task that never mattered but made you feel busy, if it feels severe good. Scorpio change often looks like restraint from the outside. Inside, it feels like oxygen. Second beat, claim. 2 minutes. Say out loud in plain American English the one condition that makes your next chapter safe enough to open. Not 50 traits. One condition. I build love slowly enough to watch for rhyme, or I am paid for depth, not speed, or I meet conflict earlier than I used to. You're not asking the universe to behave, you're asking yourself to align. There is a difference, and Scorpios can feel it. Third beat, prove. 90 seconds to schedule a micro action that demonstrates you meant what you said. Put call therapist on the calendar if you promised yourself you'd stop arguing like a defense attorney and start repairing like an adult. Schedule a 90-minute deep work block and protect it with do not disturb if you claimed you're paid for depth. Send the text that opens a slow door, not a fast one. Scorpios don't perform hope, they perform proof. Why this works for your sign? You metabolize intensity differently. Some people get high on the beginning of anything, relationship, project, practice. You get calm. Beginnings aren't your drug, commitment is. And commitment for a Scorpio is not a declaration, it's a daily narrowing. The world keeps offering you 10 parallel lanes. The portal rewards the one you actually drive. You might be tempted to complicate this because your mind is fast and your appetite is deep. Resist. You will try to stack too much, 10 new habits, 3 difficult conversations, a sudden rebrand of your whole life by Friday. That is not power. That is a panic response dressed up as ambition. Power is the calm you bring to one door you keep open and one door you close again and again until the room changes shape. I want to speak directly to the nervous system here because Scorpio energy can confuse vigilance with wisdom. If you grew up earning love by solving other people's problems, you learn to scan for threat and to call it devotion. The portal will amplify whatever you're scanning for. If you scan for betrayal, you'll notice every micro glitch and read none of the green flags. If you scan for harmony without discernment, you'll slide back into denial. Choose a different scan reciprocity. Does energy return when you send it? Do words and actions rhyme for at least 2 weeks in a row? Does your body soften after conversations, or does your jaw lock? These are not esoteric questions. They are the metrics that protect your power. Let's put this into a single morning sequence you can literally do tomorrow. You wake, phone still on airplane mode. You sit on the edge of the bed. You ask, what diluted me yesterday? You remove one item. You ask, what condition keeps me honest today? You say it out loud. You ask, what action proves it? You schedule it. Then you get up and act like someone who trusts repetition more than adrenaline. That's it. If you do that for 7 mornings, you won't need to wonder whether the portal worked. You'll be standing in a room you built. A quick word about hope versus fantasy. Hope makes you brave enough to act without guarantees. Fantasy keeps you busy enough to avoid acting where it counts. The difference is simple. Hope survives contact with reality. If the person you're manifesting cannot meet your one condition, hope will adjust your aim. Fantasy will force a storyline and call the pain meant to be. Choose hope. Let reality vote early. And if someone re-enters your life right now, as often happens in this season, don't hand them the old script. Hand them a new pace. You're not punishing anyone by moving slowly. You're protecting the thing you say you want. Ask clean questions. What changed in you? What did you learn about conflict? What does commitment look like week to week? Listen for rhythm, not romance. Romance is cheap. Rhythm costs attention. If they can't keep a beat, you already have your answer. Life lesson. Precision outperforms volume. When energy amplifies more isn't better, truer is. Manifestation is not a mood to chase, but a margin. You defend fewer leaks, fewer stories, fewer exceptions to your own rule. The moment you narrow with kindness and teeth, your life starts returning the same precision to you. You don't need the world to open. You need one door to stay open long enough for your future to walk through it. Part 2, Past Pattern Audit. Waiting versus moving on. If there is a single pattern that has trained more Scorpios to mistrust their own judgment than any other, it is the long wait that quietly morphs into a private exile. You know the one. You hold space, you hold the line, you hold your breath. You wait for a person to become who they almost are, for a job to pay what it almost promises, for life to meet you where you have already met it. The waiting begins as devotion and ends as depletion. And when you finally move on, you move like a storm, swift, decisive, absolute. Outsiders call it cold. You know it as survival. If you stay a second longer, you start negotiating against yourself. Let's slow that film and scan it with a researcher's eye. Not to blame you, but to free you. The first beat is hope. Scorpio hope isn't loud, it's bone deep. It says, I see what you could be, and I'm strong enough to stand next to the mess while you become it. Hope is not your enemy. The second beat is evidence. The days begin to stack where words and actions fall out of rhyme. The third beat is interpretation. This is where the pattern installs itself. You don't say, this person is inconsistent. You say, if I were stronger, they wouldn't be. If I loved better, they would rise. That's the hinge. From there, waiting becomes a vow you never meant to make. Consider Maya, a Scorpio in Seattle, who wrote, I'm embarrassed by how long I stayed. She wasn't weak. She was loyal. Her partner was magnificent at confession and sparse with change, a poet of the apology. She told me, every time I set a boundary, he cried. Every time he cried, I forgave. Every time I forgave, we reset back to zero. The relationship never advanced. The resets did. When she finally moved on, she did it the Scorpio way. She packed, she paid the lease break, she cut the digital cords. A year later, she said, I can't tell if I was patient or I abandoned myself. The honest answer was both. She was patient with him and abandoned herself. Or Malcolm in Dallas, who waited on an offer that kept getting pushed to next quarter. Each quarter, he streamlined his current team to prove he was ready. Each quarter, they thanked him with more tasks and no title. When he finally quit, he joined a competitor, and they gave him the title on day 1, the pay on day 30, the respect immediately. He told me I should have left sooner. Maybe. But it also took exactly the time it took for him to believe that steadiness could be reciprocated. He wasn't wrong about his value, he was wrong about the environment capable of holding it. These stories hide a single engine in both love and work. Scorpio will wait as long as there is signal. The problem is that you often mistake volume for signal. Dramatic apologies, dramatic crises, dramatic promises. Everything is loud. Very little is consistent. Consistency is quiet. It is the text that arrives when it said it would, the call that is kept, the small promise that lands on time. When you learn to crave quiet evidence, waiting changes shape. You stop waiting for a transformation and start observing for a pattern. Here is the audit. I want you to run one clean page, no flourish. At the top, write a single relationship or role where waiting became the weather. Draw 2 columns. On the left, write receipts, dates, actions, follow through, not the speeches. The follow through. On the right, write cost, sleep lost, boundaries, bent work, delayed, self-talk, darkened. Do not dramatize, do not minimize. Write what happened. When you finish, ask the one question that matters. If I had known then what I see on this page, now, would I have chosen to wait? If the answer is no, honor it without shame. If the answer is yes, honor it without pride. Either way, you've reclaimed authorship. What makes Scorpios linger is not confusion, it is capacity. You can carry more than most people's secrets, sorrow, complexity. Capacity is a gift until you use it as an excuse to endure something that does not change. Waiting then becomes a private performance of your strength. You're not trying to win them, you're trying to prove you can outlast the ache. That may have been necessary once. It does not have to be your adulthood. There is a second reason the pattern repeats: intensity bias. When your nervous system equates emotional intensity with truth, steady feels suspicious. A calm week looks like disinterest. A lack of crisis reads like a lack of care. So you unconsciously select people who create the electricity you recognize. Not because you love chaos, but because calm feels unearned, maybe even unsafe. This is why your moving on is dramatic. It's the only time you permit yourself a stark sensation that convinces you something real is happening. How do we unwind that? Not by shaming your appetite for depth. We honor it and retrain it. Depth is not measured by turbulence. It is measured by the parts of you that can finally relax. When you sit across from someone consistent and you feel bored, ask whether boredom is just the absence of threat. Boredom is a crude instrument. Often it is your body saying, I cannot find the familiar spike. That is not a red flag, that is withdrawal. Let me give you a bridge practice, something you can do this week to rewire your waiting. If someone from your past returns, or if a stalled situation opens its mouth to speak, don't slam the door and don't roll out a red carpet. Offer a bench. Tell them, this is available at a slower pace. Name one measurable sign of change you would need to see twice before you advance to the next level. Then stop narrating and watch. If it's a relationship, maybe it is. We address conflict before it festers. Twice. If it's a job, maybe it is, I need the offer in writing by Friday and the first milestone payment scheduled. Twice. You're not testing anyone, you're testing the environment. Scorpio does not guess. Scorpio observes. You might ask, why twice? Because anyone can perform once, twice is a rhythm, and you're not marrying the second data point either. You're collecting a trend line. When people show you a pattern, believe the pattern. When life shows you a room too small to hold your work, believe the room. You're not cynical for believing, you're sober. There is a fear underneath all of this, the one even the bravest Scorpios will whisper only in the right darkness. If I stop waiting, I will lose the great love, the great calling, the great moment that required one more ounce of faith. The truth is harder and kinder. If it is yours, it will meet you at the pace that keeps you whole. If it cannot meet you there, it is not home. It is a riveting detour. Scorpio is not meant to live in detours. You visit them to learn the shape of your desire, and then you come back to the road. I want to return to Maya. After her audit, she wrote a single sentence on a note card taped inside her kitchen cabinet. I do not confuse apology with repair. It was not poetry, it was policy. 2 months later, the same partner returned with a new speech. She opened the door, a hand's width, asked 3 clean questions, and listened. When words and actions rhymed twice, she allowed a slow re-entry. When they fell out of rhyme the 3rd time, she did not wait to feel the old ache. She closed the door kindly, no storm, no exile. She didn't have to move on like a hurricane because she never abandoned herself to begin with. And Malcolm, he now keeps a simple metric taped under his monitor. If they value my outcomes, they will reduce my friction. He doesn't beg for the runway anymore. He asks for it once with terms, and he leaves early if the answer is fog. Waiting for him has become a business decision, not a self-worth referendum. Scorpio, here is your practical exercise to close this section. Choose one area, love or work, where you are tempted to wait. Write a single condition that keeps your waiting clean. Paste it somewhere you will see when you are tired, because tired is when you revert. Commit to measuring reality against that condition for 7 days. Do not escalate. Do not explain. Do not defend your standard to anyone who benefits from you lowering it. Your job is not to convince them. Your job is to remain convinced. Life lesson. Patience without self-desertion. You do not have to choose between being patient and being loyal to yourself. The right pace is the one where you can still hear your own voice. If waiting costs you that voice, it is not patience, it is abandonment. If moving on restores that voice, it is not cold, it is repair. Part 3. Present shift trust without amnesia. Boundaries that hold. Trust for a Scorpio is not a sentiment. It's an engineering project. You don't believe people because they cry well. You believe them because the bridge they build holds your weight. But here's the trap you know too well: when the past stings you, either forgive so completely that you erase your own memory, or you armor up so tightly that no one can reach you, including the one who might deserve to. The work in the present is quieter and more exacting. You remember precisely and you move generously. You refuse to be naive and you refuse to be bitter. That's the razor's edge where your power lives. I want to name a pattern that impersonates healing. It's what I call the reset fog. A person returns with better language, and because you crave peace, you agree to a clean slate. In theory, beautiful. In practice, you also erase the data you collected, the late cancellations, the disappearing act after conflict, the romance that spikes during repair and crashes during routine. Without the data, you can't protect the relationship or yourself. So you walk back in with amnesia and call it forgiveness. 2 weeks later, you feel the old ache and blame your heart for being dramatic. Your heart is not dramatic, it is competent. It recognized the old pattern and tried to warn you. Let's correct the reset fog with something sturdier: boundaries that hold. A boundary in this context is not a punishment or a test. It's an agreed upon condition that makes a relationship safe enough to deepen. You're not asking for a guarantee, you're asking for conditions that allow risk to be reasonable. When you name a boundary cleanly, 2 things happen. First, you stop using hypervigilance as your only safety tool. Second, the other person finally gets a map they can follow if they want to meet you. I'll give you a script you can adapt. Use ordinary American English. Keep your tone warm and grounded. Listen. I'm open to rebuild, I'm not rewinding. Here's what keeps this safe for me. We address conflict within 48 hours. No disappearing. We match words and actions for at least 2 weeks before we escalate intimacy. If either of us breaks, that we pause and repair before we continue. That's not a threat. It's the only way I know how to protect what we say we want. Notice the geometry in there, a time window, a behavioral match, a pause and repair clause. That's not drama, that's engineering. If the person smiles and says, yes, you have hope. If they balk, minimize, or call it a lot, you have an answer without an argument. Here is where Scorpio instincts can overfunction. You sense micro shifts in tone and timing, so you start managing both sides of the bond. You anticipate their fear and accommodate it. You anticipate their shame and soften it. You run ahead of the conversation to keep the peace, and by the time you ask for what you need, you have already rehearsed their no and written a rebuttal to it. That is not intimacy, that is a solo. Boundaries that hold require you to let the other person work. If they cannot tolerate the discomfort of repair, they cannot carry the weight of your trust, and that has to be okay with you. Let's talk about transparency, because too many people confuse surveillance with closeness. You don't need passwords to feel safe. You need congruence. Congruence sounds like this: I said I would call at 7. I'm calling at 7. I told you I'm not ready for that step. My behavior reflects that. I felt defensive in that argument. I want to try again without deflecting. If you ask for access because you don't have congruence, you'll get access and remain unsatisfied. The correct request is smaller and braver. I need our daily promises to land on time for 2 weeks. If we can't do that, I'm not ready to escalate. A couple in Oakland wrote after trying this. They'd been on and off for 3 years, their cycle as predictable as the seasons. She was a Scorpio with a strategist's brain. He loved hard, but disappeared under shame when he failed her. Each reunion began with vows that felt like vows and ended in old choreography, a surge of intimacy, then ambiguity, then a fight no one initiated but both expected. This time, she said, "We do it like grown-ups or not at all. 2 weeks of ordinary promises kept. If we can't, we slow down again." He bristled at first. He wanted grand gestures to absolve him of small responsibilities, but he loved her enough to try. He kept small promises. She stopped running audits in the back of her mind and started breathing in the front of her chest. 2 weeks turned into 4. The relationship did not become perfect. It became stable enough to tell the truth without shattering. They didn't manifest each other. They manifested conditions where each could remain themselves. What about the present when the answer is no? When you name what you need and the room goes quiet except for your own pulse? This is the moment many Scorpios backpedal. You were so brave to ask that you feel obligated to make it easy for the other person to say yes. You start offering discounts on your own boundary. We could do 48 hours, but if you need 3 days, that's okay. We could be exclusive later, maybe much later. You start solving their discomfort, and because you are competent, you succeed. They relax. The relationship stabilizes on terms that do not keep you whole. 6 weeks later, you feel resentful, not because they were cruel, but because you negotiated against yourself. Let's build you a refusal protocol. It has 3 steps and no villains. Step 1, mirror the truth. Sounds like you're not able to do that right now. Step 2, restate your condition without escalation. I need it to be like that to feel safe. Step 3, choose your pace. So let's keep it light and slow, or let's pause here. You didn't punish them, you protected the container. If they want to meet you later, they'll know exactly how. If they don't, you didn't burn down the bridge. You simply declined to drive a heavier vehicle over it than it can hold. I want to address the spiritual layer that often gets misused against Scorpios, the idea that unconditional love means unconditional access. Love can be unconditional, access should not be. You can wish someone well across oceans and never again give them your password to peace. That is not a contradiction. That is stewardship. You steward your time, your attention, your nervous system, and you do it so calmly that drama has nowhere to anchor. Now, trust is not rebuilt by rule alone, it is rebuilt by repair. Many of you have been trapped in the apology loop, a perfect sorry, followed by a repeat offense. Repair is different. Repair is an action that makes the future safer than the past. It sounds like this: I missed our date. I'm blocking off Fridays on my calendar going forward, and I've sent you a calendar invite for the next 3. If I miss again, we step back a level for 2 weeks. Repairs name the behavior, add a system, and set a consequence you both accept. The consequence is not punishment, it is a return to a pace where trust can survive. A quick interlude for those in complex situations: co-parenting, caring for a sick ex, intertwined finances. Boundaries that hold must be kind. Kind does not mean convenient. You can be generous with logistics and exact with access. I will coordinate the appointment. I will not discuss our personal history. We can use this shared drive for expenses. I won't be available for late-night calls. If they accuse you of being cold, resist the invitation to explain your whole childhood to justify a healthy fence. You are allowed to live in a house with doors. There is another habit that costs Scorpios intimacy: mind reading. Your intuition is strong. Your inference engine is stronger. You spot a micro frown, a delayed reply, a change in rhythm. You build a theory and punish them for the crime they haven't had a chance to confess to. The antidote is a sentence you can memorize: I'm noticing a shift and making up a story. Can you tell me what's true? It's simple, it's humbling, and it replaces surveillance with conversation. People who can love you will love that sentence. People who need you to guess forever will not. Let's make this tactile for the next 7 days. Pick 2 micro promises you and your person can both keep. Keep them visible. Put them on a sticky note near the coffee maker. Examples: a 10-minute phone check-in before bed, a Saturday morning walk. Share calendars for one recurring weekly plan. When small promises become muscle, big trust returns without speeches. And if you're not in partnership, make the promises to yourself: bed by a certain hour, 1 hour of device-free work, 1 nourishing meal cooked at home, not to be perfect. To remind your nervous system that you can count on you. Trusting yourself is not a prelude to loving someone else. It is the relationship you will always be in. A short story to close this section. A Scorpio nurse in Minneapolis told me she could not forgive her partner for disappearing during a crisis with her father. She kept saying, "I know he's sorry. I don't know if I can ever not remember." I told her, "You don't have to forget to forgive. You have to see the future get safer." He listened. He stopped describing his remorse and started engineering his reliability. He set up a shared emergency plan, added her mother's number to his favorites, created a rule for himself about leaving work to show up for family crises. She didn't forget the past. She watched the future change shape. That's when her body let him back in. Memory intact. Hope intact. That is how Scorpios trust without amnesia. Comment prompt for this section: name one boundary that keeps love safe for you and one micro promise you can both keep this week. State it simply, like policy, not poetry. Life lesson: boundaries are bridges, not walls. A boundary is the architecture that allows intimacy to carry weight without collapse. When you treat boundaries as bridges, clear load limits, regular maintenance, visible signs, you stop policing people and start protecting connection. You do not need to forget to forgive. You need conditions where your memory and your hope can live in the same house. Part 4. Near Future Dynamics. The 30-day slow merge plan. The next month is not a movie montage. It's a sequence of small, ordinary acts that either knit trust or reveal its absence without forcing fate. Think of this as a field guide for returning heat without losing your footing. If love circles back, you don't need to slam the door or sprint through it. You open it a hand's width and let the room breathe. You observe, you measure. You proceed at the pace where your dignity can keep up. I'll give you a 30-day cadence that fits a US workweek, kids' schedules, and real life. It works if someone from your past returns, if a new person appears, or if you're choosing to be with yourself while you rewire the pattern. The principle is the same. We build intimacy by rhythm, not rhetoric. Week 1. Orientation, not persuasion. You begin with clarity, not chemistry. Set one ground rule in plain English. We move slowly and check for rhyme words and actions before we escalate. Then create one predictable touchpoint you can both keep. 10 minutes counts. A nightly call before bed, a morning voice note, a Saturday coffee in a public place. The point is not romance, it's cadence. You're listening for their nervous system under their performance. People who can love you will relax around regularity. On your side, ask 2 clean questions and stop there. What changed in you? What does repair look like when we miss? You are not cross-examining, you're mapping. When you hear answers, test them immediately and quietly. If they say, I name conflict sooner, let a small friction arise because life always supplies one, and watch what they do with it. If they promise a call, let 7 o'clock arrive. See if the call does too. You're not playing games, you're collecting receipts. Week 2. 2 weeks of congruence. Anyone can perform once. Twice creates a rhythm. Keep the same small promises and add one shared experience that isn't peak adrenaline, grocery run, bookstore hour, a walk around the block. Avoid intensity traps, overnights, big trips, long drunk confessions that feel like intimacy but skip the scaffolding. If sex is on the table, be brave enough to say what your nervous system actually needs. I'm attracted. I also need 2 consecutive weeks of congruent behavior before we sleep together. That keeps this safe for me. If they roll their eyes or call it a lot, you have a gift and early clarity you didn't have to bleed for. Repair one small miss on purpose this week. Someone will be late. Tired, prickly. Use it. The formula is simple. Name, the misname, the meaning, adjust the system, set the next check. We missed Saturday coffee. I felt unimportant. I want to try again next Saturday at 10. If we miss again, let's step back to phone calls only until we can stabilize. You are not punishing. You are protecting the bridge you're both standing on. Week 3, the ordinary stress test. Real life returns deadlines, a sick kid, a surprise bill. This is where your old cycle used to crack, where attention wobbled and reassurance turned into interrogation. This time you don't choose amnesia or interrogation, you choose transparency. Use the sentence that prevents surveillance. I'm noticing a shift and making up a story. Can you tell me what's true? If they answer with clarity and you can feel your body soften, you're seeing new material. If they answer with fog, you're seeing the pattern you prayed would hide. Believe either and act accordingly. Add one logistical merge. Tiny, reversible grown-up. Share calendars for one recurring plan. Split a small responsibility. Wednesday groceries, Friday pickup. Sunday, meal prep. Logistics are not unromantic. They are where love learns to carry weight. If the merge creates chaos, you slow down. If it creates ease, you can consider the next step. Week 4, decision at a humane pace. By now, you have 4 weeks of receipts, not speeches. The question isn't, are we in love? It's, is this container strong enough to hold love? Decide your next pace with the same kindness and teeth you brought to day 1. You have 3 honest paths. Continue. We've kept promises for a month. Let's add one more strand, an exclusive agreement or therapy or a standing date night and review in 2 weeks. Stabilize. I like this. I'm not ready to escalate. Let's hold this rhythm another 2 weeks and watch. Pause. We can't keep promises yet. I'm stepping back to protect both of us. If things change, the map hasn't. None of these require villains, they require adults. Green signs. You're building something real, read this as sensation, not a checklist. Your jaw unclenches after you talk. You don't rehearse conversations in the shower. Their promises become more modest and more reliable. Repair is shorter, gentler, quieter. You feel seen without having to deliver a TED talk about your worth. Ordinary time together feels like oxygen, not a test. Signals to slow, not explain. A surge of romance right after a rupture with no system change. Long speeches about accountability followed by a missed micro-promise. I'm just not a phone person used to dodge the 10-minute check-in you both agreed to. Your body starts planning proof they haven't been asked to give. You find yourself offering discounts on your boundary to make the yes easier. When these appear, you don't lecture, you change the pace. If you're single by choice or circumstance, you can run the same 30-day cadence with yourself. Week 1-1, non-negotiable, self-promise, daily, bedtime, workout, therapy, homework. Week 2, add one creative or career block where you're paid for depth, not speed. Week 3, a logistical merge with your future calendar, the pitch, the portfolio update, the class. Week 4, choose a pace. Continue, stabilize, or pause based on how trustworthy you are to you. The muscle you build here is the same one you'll use in love. What about third parties or entanglements? You will not outperform an active triangle by being nicer, sexier, or more patient. Your boundary is structural. If you are still entangled, I wish you well and I step back. If that changes and you're truly available, you know my pace. Then you let reality do what reality does, clear or confirm. You don't manifest someone out of their commitments. You manifest a life that only welcomes fully available people. A short story from the field. 2 Scorpios wrote me from different coasts. She is a chef in New York. He's a contractor in Sacramento. Both had the same ghost partners who swore forever and vanished in the middle. They agreed to run the 30-day cadence with new people. By week 2, she realized her date could make grand declarations, but not Saturday mornings. She slowed the pace without a defense and watched the romance deflate useful data acquired without heartbreak. He meanwhile noticed that his person kept tiny promises and underpromised the big ones. His body calmed. At 30 days, they chose continue with one new strand, couples therapy early, not as an ambulance. Neither has fireworks to brag about. Both have sleep. Conversation scripts you can borrow, use. Don't memorize opening pace. I like this. I'm not rewinding or rushing. Let's agree on one small promise we can keep daily and we'll add from there. Repair after a miss. We missed the thing. I felt emotion. Here's what makes it safer next time. Let's try again. Time. If we miss again, we step down a level. Refusal without rupture. Sounds like you can't do that now. I need that to feel safe. Let's keep this light or pause. Reassurance request. I'm noticing a shift and making up a story. Tell me what's true so I don't fill the space with ghosts. If you're reading this and thinking, isn't this unromantic? Remember what your sign actually loves. You love intensity, yes, but the kind that becomes devotion, not the kind that burns through the furniture. This plan does not kill romance. It gives romance a place to live. Comment prompt for this section. In the next 7 days, what is the one small promise you can keep every day without drama? Write it like policy, not poetry. If you're in a bond, invite them to choose theirs too. Life lesson: rhythm reveals reality. In the short run, anyone can be dazzling. In the long run, rhythm tells the truth. The future you want does not require performances. It requires a pace that lets both of you remain yourselves while building a third thing neither of you could build alone. Keep the rhythm. Let it reveal what speeches can't. Part 5. Money and work. The Scorpio monetization pivot. Let's take the mystique out of money without draining it of meaning. You don't need a new personality to change your income. You need a tighter container. When Scorpios concentrate, cash stops evaporating not because the universe owes you, but because your attention finally has somewhere to land. I want you to imagine money as water in an old house. There are hairline cracks you cannot see and one cracked pipe you can. You keep mopping the floor and calling that manifestation. Mopping is hoping. Plumbing is power. The pivot you make this month is simple and surgical: seal one leak, clarify one offer, and choose one delivery system you can repeat. Not 5, one of each. One leak closed gives you back hours and self-respect. One offer clarified gives strangers a way to pay you without guessing. One delivery system keeps you honest when enthusiasm dips. Money responds to that kind of calm. A story from Baltimore. A Scorpio videographer wrote that she was always almost booked. She had talent gear and a calendar full of coffees with potential. Her income felt like a storm, loud, dramatic, and gone by Monday. We didn't add more hustle. We removed ambiguity. Leak endless unpaid proposal writing. Offer a flat price launch day package. Shoot, edit, deliver 3 assets in 72 hours. Delivery 1 day a week, reserved non-negotiable, paid in advance. She sent 10 emails to past clients with that one clear option and a simple calendar link. 4 booked in 2 weeks. No rebrand, no mood board, no spell. The money was never missing. It was leaking into options. Or Anthony, a Scorpio barber in Houston who kept doing extras because he loved the transformation skin beard confidence. He'd finish a cut and hand out 10 minutes of product coaching, sometimes 20, then feel resentful when the client bought a $9 bottle at the drugstore on the way home. His leak was the unpriced intimacy after the service. His offer became a 15-minute Finish Strong add-on, wash-style product tutorial mini photo for LinkedIn, priced fairly bookable, capped at 2 a day. Delivery was a laminated menu at the mirror and a sentence: if you want the full finish, I've got a 15-minute add-on. Half his clients said yes. Resentment vanished. Revenue rose without touching his core cut price. He didn't become greedy, he became precise. Scorpios are often paid for depth, but scheduled like generalists. Your power is not volume, it is immersion. That means 2 counterintuitive moves in the next 7 days. First, you raise the minimum bar for how someone gets your depth. Second, you lower the friction for how someone tastes your work. Raising the bar looks like this: you stop selling hours, you sell outcomes with boundaries. 3-session clarity sprint. We define your offer, your words, your first campaign. You leave with a 1-page plan and a calendar, or focused portrait session. 2 looks, 1 location, 1 narrative. You leave with 5 edited images by Friday. The boundary is not stinginess, it is mercy. People respect what you protect. Lowering friction looks like this: a clean page where a stranger can understand, decide, and book without DM gymnastics. If you run everything through text threads and voice notes, you will drown in intimacy and starve for structure. Put your yes where it belongs: a page, a button, a calendar. You can still be warm. You're just not improvising your livelihood in every conversation. Let's talk about the psychology that keeps your money foggy. Scorpios can attach moral meaning to earning. If you were trained to equate generosity with self-erasure, pricing feels like betrayal. You start apologizing for wanting to be paid for the very thing that costs you the most energy. You discount early, pad the offering late, and call it kindness. It isn't kindness, it's a slow leak dressed as virtue. Rewrite the story. You are not charging for your soul. You are charging for the container that lets you bring your soul without burning it. Boundaries do not make you transactional, they make you sustainable. The deeper your work, the clearer your edge must be. Here is a 1-week, 1-pivot plan that honors a US work week and your nervous system. This is not financial advice, it's structure for attention. Day 1, choose your leak. 1, not all. The subscription you ignore, the unpaid quick look you do for friends, the endless consult that never converts. Decide how you stop it. Cancel invoice or cap. Day 2. Name your offer in American English. No poetry. One sentence anyone can repeat about what they get and when they get it. If you cannot say it without inhaling twice, it is not ready. Day 3. Pick a delivery system you can maintain on low-energy days, a calendar link with 3 slots a week, a weekly live Zoom for your cohort offer, a set Friday for deliveries. Choose the one your future tired self will still honor. Day 4. Price it cleanly, not to punish or prove, to reflect the outcome and the energy it costs. If you sweat, add a margin. If you undercharge, you will over-explain. If you price fairly, silence returns. Day 5. Tell the right 10 people, past clients who loved you, colleagues who refer well, a platform where you've already earned trust. Not a viral prayer, a targeted note. I'm offering one name of offer on days. Here's the link if it helps. That's it. Day 6. Deliver one. Do it impeccably. Afterwards, write the 3-sentence case study while it's fresh problem intervention outcome. That story will sell the next one without a speech. Day 7. Close the loop. Send the invoice the hour you finish. Ask for a single-line testimonial. What changed for you? Put it on the page. Rest. The ritual of completion is part of the income. A quick word for salaried Scorpios who think I don't sell anything. You sell clarity. Your leak is invisible labor mentoring everyone, correcting sloppy systems, protecting the team from fire drills that leadership causes. You are quietly the disaster plan. Stop hiding it. Write what you prevent. Bring one proposal to your manager that ties your impact to one change. A title shift, a scope shift, a noise filter that frees you to deliver where you're lethal. You are not asking for a favor. You are aligning incentives. If they value outcomes, they will reduce your friction. If they refuse, you are not powerless. You are prepped. When you leave like Malcolm early clean and to an environment built to hold what you do. Spiritual layer, because money and meaning are not enemies. There is a belief that if earning is easy, it must be suspect. Scorpio intimacy with struggle makes ease feel unearned. But ease isn't the absence of effort, it's the absence of waste. Waste is the late invoice, the foggy offer, the yes you didn't mean. Ease is precision, the right promise, the right person, the right pace. When you remove waste, earning can feel quiet. If quiet feels suspicious, that is not a financial problem, it is a nervous system problem. Sit with it. Let quiet be proof that you're not bleeding to prove you're alive. If you fear visibility, remember you don't owe the internet your life. You owe your work a doorway. Put your work where the right eyes can find it, not where the loudest eyes will judge it. A simple page, a clear reel, one sentence you actually stand behind, then step away. You're not a carnival barker. You're an artisan with a bell on the door. 2 closing vignettes. A therapist in Portland capped sliding scale slots so she could keep them without resentment and raised her full rate modestly. Her fear said clients would flee. They didn't. She stopped dreading Mondays. A ceramicist in Tucson stopped taking custom orders that hijacked her kiln for weeks and committed to monthly drops of the work she loved. She sold out in 3 hours. Neither found a secret. Both found an edge. Comment prompt for this section. Name the one leak you'll close this week, the one offer you'll run for 30 days, and the one delivery system you'll protect when you're tired. Say it plainly, then do day 1 before you sleep. Life lesson: concentration is cash flow. Money honors what you honor. When you concentrate your attention, your time returns, your resentment drops, and your work becomes legible to the people who need it. You don't manifest dollars out of nowhere. You stop letting them evaporate through unpriced care, vague promises, and improvisational logistics. Concentrate, and the quiet you hear is not scarcity, it's capacity. Part 6. Spiritual integration, alchemy, withdrawal, and true power. Scorpio's sacred work is not to impress the room, it is to change the room by changing yourself inside it. That's what people mean when they whisper alchemy about your sign. Not rabbits from hats, not mood swings dressed as miracles. Alchemy is the quiet conversion of experience into power pain, into policy, longing, into devotion, endings, into rooms where beginnings feel safe. If you do this part, the rest of the plan doesn't wobble when life does. Let's start with a word that has been misread so often it almost lost its meaning: withdrawal. To many, withdrawal looks like punishment. To Scorpio, it is calibration. You don't retreat to dramatize your hurt. You retreat to return your attention to the only furnace that can heat your life for years your own. When you stop pouring heat into a system that doesn't hold it, you are not being cold, you are fixing the physics. I once sat with a Scorpio pianist in Boston who said, "Every time I stop playing for a person, people say I'm cruel." She wasn't. She had learned too young to perform love until love performed back. Her correction was withdrawal done cleanly. She didn't slam doors. She spoke one sentence: "I'm stepping back to protect what's sacred for me." No accusations, no justifications. She took 3 months, rebuilt the daily ritual that made her art inevitable, and returned to the world with a smaller circle and an instrument that sounded like breath. There was no revenge to stage because there was nothing left to prove. Her life sounded like her again. This is the spine of Scorpio spirituality. You do not chase what drains you and call that devotion. You do not refuse what nourishes you and call that strength. You practice both kinds of courage, leaving and receiving. Leaving asks you to disappoint projections. Receiving asks you to surrender control. Control is not power. Control is fear rehearsing. Power is stewardship. Power trusts that what is yours can meet you at a humane pace without you dynamiting your boundaries to make it arrive sooner. Alchemy in practice has 3 fires. The first is heat, the willingness to tell the truth privately before you perform it publicly. The second is containment and edge that keeps your heat from burning your own house down. The third is time you allow transformation to arrive at the speed of nervous systems, not Netflix. When you get those wrong, you get spectacle. When you get them right, you get a life you don't have to leave to love. You've heard me say intensity isn't intimacy. Here is the corollary: mystery isn't withholding. Mystery is precision. You keep private what must be protected to stay alive. You reveal what must be revealed to stay honest. The old pattern hid behind secrecy. The new one breathes behind discernment. That's why your boundaries in love and money are not the opposite of your spirituality. They are the proof of it. Every time you say no to a leak, you say yes to the form of love that could survive here. A short story from Santa Fe. A Scorpio restaurateur hosted everyone's grief. The kitchen was therapy, the bar a confessional, her office a triage center for staff who loved her and leaned on her until she collapsed. She called that community, and then she didn't sleep for a year. Her alchemy began with one spiritual sentence taped on her desk: care that costs my center is not care. She started praying with a schedule. She moved from endless availability to morning availability. She kept one late night a week for true emergencies and trained her managers to hold the rest. The business did not lose its heart, it found its hours. People began to solve problems that once only her adrenaline could solve. That is not less love. That is love with a spine. If you crave a ritual to help your body remember what your mind already knows, make it small, repeatable, and kind. You do not need a bonfire on a cliff to close a chapter. You need 5 minutes with a pen, a glass of water, and your pulse. The ritual of returning your energy. Sit in a quiet place. Put your hand where your breath is easiest to feel. Speak 3 sentences out loud exactly like this. I call back my energy from places that cannot hold it. I leave behind what is not mine to carry. I will spend my life where my life can grow. Then drink the water slowly. Do it for 7 nights. Nothing to post, nothing to prove. The function is simple. Your mouth rehearses what your choices will soon have to do. The body learns from repetition, not speeches. For those who want shadow work without drowning in it, trade excavation for orientation. You don't need to map every origin wound this month. You need to notice what makes you lose your center and what returns it. Write 2 lists titled, I lose center when and I return to center when. Put 1 line under each and stop. Examples: I lose center when I argue to be chosen. I return to center when I keep the promise I made to myself this morning. The next time your breath climbs your throat, look at the 2nd line and do exactly that. Spirituality is not the performance of depth. It is the practice of returning. Here's where surrender lives in Scorpio terms. Surrender is not passive. It is the refusal to do God's job badly. You act at the edge of your responsibility with all your attention. Then you refuse to cross into manipulation. You do not pray with one hand and pick the lock with the other. You make the room ready and leave the door unforced. If it is yours, it will not require you to abandon yourself to keep it. If you must abandon yourself, it is not yours no matter what language it uses to beg for one more try. A word about anger because it is holy and it needs a container. Many of you were taught that anger is the opposite of love. That is untrue. Anger is the witness that rises when something loves you enough to be defended. Without a container, anger becomes heat without direction. With a container, anger becomes decision. Your container is the sentence that turns fury into movement. Because I am angry, I will do X, and I will stop doing Y. Then you do it once in daylight with your shoulders down. You don't need a scene, you need a standard. If all of this feels austere, remember what waits on the other side. When Scorpios practice clean withdrawal, calibrated return, and precise surrender, the world stops feeling like a storm. You have to read and starts feeling like a climate you can inhabit. You recognize what is yours without excessive story. You release what isn't without elaborate goodbyes. Your life acquires the quiet that used to scare you. The quiet turns into strength. Strength turns into service. Service that doesn't drain you begins to feed you. That loop is what your sign was born to close. A final vignette to stitch this together. A Scorpio father in Atlanta used to love with panic. If his son pulled away, he chased. If his partner grew distant, he offered grand gestures that failed to touch the real wound. He listened to his own tape, I fix love by tightening my grip. He tried the return ritual instead. He named the fear being left. He named the container we talk on Tuesdays and Saturdays, no matter what. He named the pace we move slow when scared. 3 months later, nothing cinematic happened, only everything. His son began to relax into the rhythm. His partner stopped bracing for rescue missions and started reaching for him without being staged. His home did not get louder, it got warm. Comment prompt for this section. Where do you most lose your center, and what is the smallest action that reliably returns it? Name both in one sentence so your body can remember. Life lesson. Power is attention kept. Your real strength is not how hard you hold on, it's how faithfully you keep your attention when other people forget theirs. Withdrawal returns your attention to you. Alchemy converts it into decisions. Surrender keeps you out of rooms where control is confused for love. Do this quietly, steadily, and your life will begin to speak in a voice you trust, even when no one is watching. Conclusion. The last word you needed before you begin. You came here for a reading. What you received was a map, not a fantasy, not a threat, not a script that makes someone else behave. A map that returns your power to where it belongs. back in your hands, back in your calendar, back in your mouth when you speak a clean sentence, and then keep it. The window we named at the start does not make you someone else. It makes you unmistakably yourself. That is the point. When energy amplifies volume is a distraction. Precision is the change. You asked whether this is really happening. The truer question is whether you will let it happen at a pace that keeps you whole. Carry these 5 anchors out the door. They are simple on purpose, so you can do them tired, busy, afraid, or brave. Cut what dilutes you. Claim the one condition that keeps you honest. Prove it with a small act every day. Build love by rhythm, not speeches. Close one leak and give your work a doorway. When you forget, you return. When you are tempted to rush or rewind, you choose the third way. You open the door a hand's width and let the room breathe. You observe. You move at a humane pace. That is not withholding. That is stewardship. For the next 72 hours, use a single daily sequence that does not wobble. Wake without noise. Ask what diluted you yesterday and remove one item. Speak your condition out loud. Put one proving action on the calendar and protect it with your attention. At night, run a quiet audit. Did words and actions rhyme? Did you keep your promise to yourself? If the answer is yes, even once, that is momentum. If the answer is no, you do not confess to strangers or punish yourself with vows. You reset in the morning and try again. Scorpio power is not the lightning strike. It is the wire that carries current day after day without overheating. If love knocks this week, you are ready, because you are not asking it to rescue you. You are inviting it into a container that can hold heat without burning the furniture. You address conflict before it festers. You match words and actions for 2 weeks before you escalate. You repair with systems, not speeches. You say no kindly when the environment cannot support the weight of the bond. Memory intact, hope intact. That is what trust without amnesia feels like. If money calls, you are ready because your attention finally has somewhere to land. One leak closed, one offer clarified, one delivery rhythm you can repeat when you are tired. You do not owe the internet your life. You owe your work a doorway. You are not charging for your soul. You are charging for the container that lets you bring your soul without burning it. And if your spirit is loud tonight, do the small ritual that returns you to yourself. You call your energy back from places that cannot hold it. You leave behind what is not yours to carry. You spend your life where your life can grow. 7 nights, no performance, only practice. The quiet you hear afterward is not emptiness, it is capacity. We end where we began. There is a moment each year when what you stop chasing starts moving toward you. It comes with heightened focus, heightened pattern, recognition, heightened consequence. You do not need to be louder. You need to be truer. You do not need to forgive and forget. You need to forgive and remember and then choose a pace where both can live. You do not need to win a person or a future by outsuffering anyone. You need to keep your word to yourself when nobody is watching. That is the current your life has been waiting to carry. Tell me in the comments the single action you will take in the next 24 hours to prove your intention. One boundary you will enforce. One leak you will close. One promise you will keep. Speak it so your body can follow. If this landed and you want more work like this, subscribe to the Path to Buddha Wisdom. Stay with me through this season. We do Scorpio work slowly and precisely so you do not repeat cycles. Turn on the bell, watch the next episode, bring your attention, and I will meet you with the map.